Okay. And welcome to Skyhawks Minute right here, sponsored by Fort Lewis College on 99X, Durango's music hit station. And with us, we want you to meet the freshman sensation, Amber Otts, a formidable defender for Fort Lewis College with an impressive debut season as a freshman. And of course, not only has she done so well in her freshman year, but she's got several different awards as the RMAC second team player, also the RMAC Defensive of the Week, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And so just doing a really great job helping the Skyhawks reach a fourth place ranking in the RMAC. And so we want to talk to her a little bit about that. And I believe she's also majoring in biology or nursing. And so we'll talk a little bit about that too. So let's dive right into this standout from La Cueva High School and find out a little bit more about Amber. Amber, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
That was kind of a long introduction, and I know there's a lot more, but, first of all, let's find out, I mean, you just got out of high school. What's the transition been like for you, coming from high school to college, and you've got the first year behind you?
Coming from high school right into college, we were immediately on the road, so it was pretty stressful. We were on the road back-to-back weekends, so trying to figure out how to balance college and soccer was pretty challenging, but once I got the hang of it, it was just me, going to class and then wanting to go to practice, and then it was the next game and the next game, and I was just always excited to get back on the field.
And I've talked to a lot of the student athletes there, a lot of juniors and seniors. I think you might be the first freshman that I've had on Skyhawks Minute, but, they talked about them mentoring the younger kids. Have you got a lot of help from, your juniors and seniors, how to adjust to everything?
Yeah, I mean, they've taken a lot of the similar classes that I have, so chemistry is a pretty tough one, and so on the road, when I was confused and missing class, I asked a lot of them for help, and then whenever I was stressed, I would just ask, how they got through it, and they helped a lot, and even on the field too, they were awesome. The older girls are really helpful.
Now, one of the things you've played a pivotal role in anchoring Fort Lewis defense, contributing to numerous shutouts and helping the team achieve, a strong goals against average. What was your mindset or strategies do you bring to the field to maintain such defensive ability?
I was always pretty nervous before every game, but in warm up, I would just get in the right mindset. And, I pride myself on 1v1 defending. I love getting in between the player. And so every time that someone would take me on, it was like, they're not going to get past me. Like I would just look at them and I was like, they're not going to get around me. And, that was easy on the outside, playing on the outside back. But when I moved into the center, it was a little bit different because being in the center and being on the outside is a very different position. So once I moved into the center, it was kind of like, how can I fill Elizabeth's shoes and like take on her big role? And now I have to talk and communicate a lot more. And then whenever a player would come up to me, I was like, I'm going to win every ball first. And that's just kind of how I went into it. And just having that mindset of like, nobody's going to get around me.
And is there a lot of mind games going on, a lot of talking when you get on the field with the players from the other team?
I personally don't like to engage, but there's sometimes that they'll like turn and say something, and most of the time I try to ignore it, but like if she says something mean, there's been a couple times where I've like said something back.
So that sounds like you don't play those games, but other people do.
Yeah.
And hopefully you keep that mindset all the way through. You may change your mind when you get to just you may be more attuned to coming back with a comeback or something. Now let's talk about one of the things that you were named the RMAC Defensive Player of the Week, which is a significant accomplishment. Share with us a bit about the matches and the moments during that week that you felt particularly showcased about your defensive ability.
The first game was a night game against West Texas, and um, I was really excited because I loved the under the lights games, and we were still kind of in the beginning of the season. So I was just like, I'm happy to be out here, went out on the field like it was a normal game. And I had no clue that defensive player of the week was even a thing. And so I, played my game. I had an assist to Aubrey. She scored a really good goal. I just played the through ball over the top. And then she scored, and we ended up winning that game. So that was a big win for us, especially because it was a Texas team. And then the next game, I think it was Angelo State, and that was a really, really tough win. They were in our half the last probably 30 minutes of the game, and it was just us trying to get our foot on the ball to clear it over and over. And so, I mean, I blocked a couple shots, but I was really nervous in that game, and I was like, "Oh no, like if they score on us, this isn't good." So, that was a nail biter for sure, I think for everybody. And then I was sitting in lab that Tuesday, and I saw a text in the group chat, and I just saw my name, and I couldn't really look at my phone because I was in lab. So I like was leaving lab, and it was like, "Hell yeah, Amber." And I was like, "What is this?" And then once I like um realized, I was like, "Oh my gosh." And so I think that award, I think that was a team thing. Like that came from the entire team. It wasn't just me. That was an effort from, the defense to everybody else on the team. Like we fought really hard to get those two wins that weekend. And so just having that, I think I don't just represent that. I think that it was like the entire team as a whole.
Right, right. Now, one of the other things too, you got your first goal. And talk about that. I mean, as a defensive player that gets a goal, talk about what that was like.
Yeah. So going into that game, I didn't coming into college soccer, it's really hard to gauge how much you're going to be playing and all that. And so, whenever he named off the starting lineup, I was really, really nervous. That was my first college game, and so I was like, I have to do my best, and I can't make any mistakes. And so, the first ball I got played in the game, the pass went right under my foot, and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's going to take me right out of the game, and he did it. Thank God. But I was like, just doing everything I could to play my best. And so we ended up going down, and that was a team that we had gone into the game not expecting to go down to. And um, so Damo was pretty frustrated, I could tell. And so I kind of just took it upon myself. I was dribbling up, I saw an open shot, and I was screaming for Aubrey to give the ball back to me, and I shot it. And it was from pretty far out. So when I scored, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I just scored that." And so that was a really good feeling. It was pretty like security. There's like a lot of security, like, okay, I can do this, like I belong here, I can play here, and I earned my spot. And so that was really cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure, after the goal, it was a big excitement for your team for you to be able to do that too.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the three rookies named to the RMAC All Conference, and tell us what sets you apart as a player and how you plan to continue developing your skills in your collegiate career.
Um, for me, I think that what sets me apart is I just go out there every single game, and, I don't ever like prejudge a player or look at a player and be like, "Oh, I saw you on film, like I can beat you." Like I go into every single game just with like that mindset of like I don't know how good this girl is, but she's not going to get past me. And just like I think with the work ethic, like I work really, really, really hard just to do my best. And there's been a lot of times in the season where some of the coaches have been like, "Oh my gosh, I like can't believe you got there." And I'm like, "I can't either." Like it's just that mindset in front of the goal that I have that like you are not going to get a shot off.
Mhm.
And there's been a couple times. There was one against Westminster. The girl was right in front of the goal 1v1, and I like ran out of nowhere, and I like blocked it, and I was like, so it's just like that mindset of like, I'm not gonna let you shoot. I'm not gonna let you score on us. And there's obviously times where people score on us, but I've our back line and me as well have also saved a lot of goals that could have happened. So
You talk about the mindset of, you're not going to let someone score on you. Did this come from, your high school career?
No, I played forward in high school, so I was the one scoring the goals in high school. Um, but uh, there's been a lot of like, you know, going through club. I played outside back, and my senior year club was super relaxed. It wasn't like anything serious. So coming in, I was a little bit nervous here because you have to win when you come play a college sport. Like you play to win every game, and
Mhm.
obviously that's the expectation that we have been set is like we want to go to the national tournament, and so from day one, it was kind of like Damo, inspiring us and like putting that idea in our head. Like we have a team that is good enough to go to the national tournament. And ultimately, like, it's up to us and how we play to do that. And so I think just, being really thankful for the opportunity and the playing time that Damo gave me and taking that and just doing what I can with it. And so I think just him talking to us and being like, you guys have this, you can do this. And going into every game, it's like, I can't let anybody score on us.
Right. How was the change? I mean, you said you were an offensive player. How was it for you, the change from offense to defense?
It was a weird one. I mean, growing up and playing soccer, I've played pretty much every position. And then I kind of settled into playing outside back. And so, going from high school to playing outside back, it's a little bit of a switch because you go all the way to the back. But the thing that I do like is with outside back and the skills I can take from having playing forward, you go up a lot. Damo likes us to go all the
Mm.
way up and take players on and go up the side. And so that was like a little bit easier since I had experience on dribbling. But then when I moved into center back, it was like, oh, I have to hold. I can't just go up and dribble or like overlap or take off. Like I have to stay right here. And so I think that was the biggest adjustment for me positionally wise.
Right. And of course, we know soccer is a team sport because you have your defensive backs, you have your up backs, and then you have your forwards. And do you ever see that maybe you're moving to a forward position eventually?
Um, I don't think so. I I'm not very good in front of the goal, if I'm being honest. I'm good at getting there, but the shot for me is not there. It's definitely something I have to work on. But I think in my opinion, I'm a better at defense than I am going towards the goal.
Well, and it sounds like your coaches found where you belong, and that's where they're going to keep you and develop you.
Yeah.
Definitely. So now let's talk one other thing real quick before we get out of here. As we mentioned, you're majoring in biology or nursing. And, one of the things and we talked a little bit about this at the beginning you know, about balancing. How do you balance, um, your academics and, being an athlete?
It's been tough. First semester was definitely really tough for me at the beginning just because I got thrown into college and we were immediately on the road, like I said. Um, so that was a big adjustment, and obviously nursing, biology, those majors are not easy. No major's easy, but those are especially really hard because you have labs with them and it's a lot of work, a lot of memorization. And so at first I was really stressed. I didn't really know how to manage it. And, talking with the older girls, they helped me, and Damo was also really, really helpful. There was a lot of chemistry quizzes that Damo had to proctor for me on the road, and so, it's just taking the time that you have to study, and you're not given a lot of it, but when you're on the road, it's the bus rides, we have set aside study hours, it's just doing your homework when you can, and then, you know, when you get back, you gotta just deal with it, honestly, it's pretty hard, but, the professors here are also really awesome, they've helped me a lot in balancing my schoolwork and soccer, and they're super flexible, so, I've been able to get some extensions on, like, a quiz if I didn't know what was going on since I was gone the whole week, or, anything like that. But you just have to really take the time that you're given and, you know, ask for help when you need it. And that's kind of how I've been able to manage it.
And one last question before we go. What do you do in the off season when the soccer season's not going to be prepared for, your sophomore year coming up?
Do you mean academic wise or soccer
No,
wise?
actually for soccer.
For soccer.
Yeah.
Um, so off season, right when we got out of soccer, it was weird. I didn't know what to do with myself because I was just sitting in my room and I didn't have practice. It was like right before Christmas break. And I just was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do with myself? And so I started going on runs. And I went out to the field a couple times to shoot. And then just coming back into spring, it's like working really, really hard in the weight room, pushing myself to my max, like lifting as heavy as I can just to get stronger. Taking the fitness test seriously. We have agility, speed and agility days running on the curves. So taking those as seriously as possible. And then we obviously still have practice. So just using those opportunities every day to get better. And then I think going home for summer and at the end of spring, I think it's just making sure I still play soccer, getting touches on the ball, keep my fitness up, going to the gym, lifting, all that to come in ready for the fall.
Awesome. Amber, thank you for joining us. Great story. Like I said, you're the first freshman that we have, and I'm sure that we continue to do this. We'll talk to you somewhere down the road again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, good luck in your career at Fort Lewis, and be sure and look for Amber next year when they get ready for the soccer season. One of the Cornville defensive players for the Fort Lewis Skyhawks soccer team. And that'll wrap us up right here on Skyhawks Minute, sponsored by Fort Lewis College, right here on Durango's Music Hit Station 99X.